Welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi. And what a day, what a time, what a life. We are here.
How's your morning going here, Russell?
Well, it's been an interesting morning. I can tell you it's definitely been, it has been a morning. I don't want to get into it, but it's been a good morning.
Oh, you know I'll get into it eventually, but I don't want to waste our guests' time, so we're here with Kevin Kurz from The Athletic.
Kevin Kurz, too late for that.
Yeah.
Does Kevin Kurz now lead the way with the most appearances here on the Press Row Show?
Well, I think so. Of the local,
intermission, postgame show?
Yeah, of the local media for sure, because he was our opening night guy, right? I think we had you opening night, right? So and I have like a little bit of a rotation kind of thing going on when I get guests here for pregame. And this is your third time with us, I think, or your third or fourth, whatever. But we really do appreciate it. What are you doing? What did you just do? What did you do? I couldn't hear myself for a minute.
You're welcome.
Russ, stop playing with this.
No, it's because intern Andrew was poking this board.
Well, here's what I can tell you. Here's what I can tell you. The Flyers are much better at hockey than Russ is at tech.
That's not true.
That's what's going on right now.
That's not true.
Colorado Avalanche coming in. Flyers playing the best hockey of the season, right, Kev? I mean, hands down. I mean, I think that we all thought that the game in Winnipeg was like, man, that was impressive.
Yeah.
And then what they did the other night to Dallas, it just even blew that out of the water.
It's like we're running out of, quote unquote signature wins, right? Because I would say the first one came in Denver when we were there in December.
That's right.
That was the game where Carter Hart gave us the, we feel like no one wants us to win quote.
Yeah.
And since then, there's the ones you just mentioned, right? I mean, it just seems like there's one after another, and there's kind of another chance for one tonight against these guys.
Yeah, it really is. This one might be a little bit tougher with Colorado coming off of a loss against Boston the other night.
Yeah. End of a 5-game trip. I mean, this is going to be a tough game for them.
It is. There is that end of things too. That was how I was going to counterbalance it. So, but yeah, this is an important home stretch for this Flyers team. If they really want everyone to really take notice, you beat this Colorado Avalanche team today, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, wait a second. This isn't just some fun story anymore. This is a contending team.
I mean, I thought if you win 3 out of these 4 games, that's an accomplishment. With Ottawa coming in tomorrow, and Ottawa's going to be on the second of a back-to-back, so that's kind of a wash. And with travel, so really the Flyers should be the more prepared team tomorrow. But then Tuesday.
What the heck was that?
What was the balloon?
What was that? I want to point out that tonight's show is running through intern Andrew's computer. So if anything stupid happens.
What was that?
I have no idea. There were balloons.
There were balloons on the screen.
Intern Andrew, what is happening? What is happening?
Did you see that?
I saw that. It's not my birthday, but
what a mess.
Anyway, sorry to interrupt, Ken.
Anyway, I was saying I think if they win 3 out of 4, 3 very good teams, 3 likely playoff teams, depending on what you think of Tampa coming in on Tuesday.
Sure.
So that's an accomplishment. Even if you lose this one today, you can still have a pretty darn good homestand.
No, absolutely can. But that's what I'm saying. Like I think that they're on the precipice of more national attention.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like we're seeing it here. The fans in Philadelphia or Flyers fans from around the country, around the world, we all have login from everywhere here on the Press Row Show. They see it because they're watching it every night. But then maybe you don't get that national attention because you're not watching this team every night. You just see that they're there in the standings. And it's like, well, how's that Flyers team still there? Then you start beating teams. And when you look at some of the wins that they've had this year, you mentioned, the Colorado win and the Dallas, but you can go as far back as beating Vegas.
Yeah.
When they beat Vegas here, right? And they beat Carolina, who's a really good team. They've beaten the top teams in this sport.
And even some of the games they lose, they're in. You go back to the first game in Dallas, the 5th game of the year. You've got Emile Andre playing defense. You got Sam Merson, who wasn't playing very well at the start of the year, and they still get a point of that game in overtime. So it's almost like there were some signs of it early that maybe we didn't recognize because it was still early.
Right.
And now that we're into January, I think we all know at this point this team is going to be in 95% of the games it plays even when they lose. So that's where you want to be.
It's a wild time. So I want to throw this to you because obviously the discourse online is about as rational as you would expect it to be. We've got the people now asking, well, are Danny Briere and Keith Jones going to stick to the rebuild? Tort said the other day on NBC Sports Philly that they're going to have to make some painful decisions. They're kind of torn up about the idea of having to get rid of some of these guys at the deadline, but you have to keep the bigger picture in mind. Do you believe it? I mean, let's start there. Do you believe that this team will ultimately do what it needs to do with the macro idea of the rebuild in mind?
I think it could be. I think we could be headed towards more of a quiet deadline where you do, you do deal a Sean Walker for a future asset, depending on what you get for him. Now, people that I've talked to are skeptical that Danny will be able to get a first-round pick for him. We'll see. I don't think we know how the market's going to look in another 4 or 5 weeks. Yeah. But I could also see a situation where, if you remove a guy, let's if you look at the roster right now, what's the one weakness that maybe they could use a little bit more depth at? It's probably a scoring winger.
Yeah, sure.
Might there be a situation where you deal Sean Walker, you get a second rounder, maybe even get a first rounder, but then maybe you can deal like a 4th round pick next year to bring in a rental to give the group a chance at doing something in the postseason? Because I would argue, at least at this point, this group has earned the opportunity to win games, to make a playoff run and then potentially see what they can do in the playoffs. And I know we're a little early and it's still only January, but if we're still in this position in another month, I could see maybe a little bit of
both, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I think it's a fair way of looking at it too, Kev, because look at what they have as far as acquired assets at this point, or accrued assets at this point. You have 2 first-rounders, 2 second-rounders coming up, and then next year same thing, right? Yep. And so they have 3 second-rounders next year, something like that, whatever it is.
Yeah, well, they got the second for Drysdale also. That's 2025.
Right.
So
that's what I'm saying. So they have a good number of draft picks, high-end draft picks already that are assets. If, let's say, you trade Sean Walker, and I know that there's people who say we're probably not going to get a first rounder. I still think he's a second round. You can get a second rounder for Walker. You might be able to get a conditional first if the team goes like far in the playoffs kind of thing. But I still think you can get another second rounder. Now all of a sudden you're talking about having all these first and second round picks. To give up a 3rd or a 4th to add something for your team, it isn't costing you anything of real value, right?
I agree.
Because of all those other picks that you have. So I think that the way you're describing it is pretty accurate and pretty close to what they should probably do, or at least going to try to do as they approach that March 8th deadline.
Let's play a really fun hypothetical game. This will not happen. It's mostly a waste of our time to do it, but that's what we're here for. It's a silly podcast. If at some point there's a team near the deadline that has a guy, I don't have a name, that has a guy, let me kind of go with like last year, like a DeBrincat that would have been available. If you have accumulated enough of the first and second round capital, and there's a guy who's coming up on a contract, who's younger, who fits your timeline, and instead of saying, hey, and rather than having a bunch of late firsts and hoping they become whatever we can get, if there is a deal to be made this season with some of that draft capital for a guy who has legitimate upside potential but might be coming up on a deal, is it something that you explore as a team?
So you're a guy that would fit now and would still have 4 or 5 prime years ahead of him. Yeah, it's an interesting question, and you hear Trevor Zegras' name when that comes up too, right?
Yeah.
And he's a little bit younger. That's why it's going to be so fascinating. There are so many different directions this thing can go, right? And I think the biggest benefit that Danny has right now is time. You don't have to rush into anything, right? This deadline isn't until March 8th, which is
later than it should be.
Yeah, it is. But in the Flyers' case, they probably welcome that because the one thing I think that maybe some fans tend to overlook is the business aspect of this team making the playoffs would be tremendous. You're trying to remind this city that this hockey team is here, right?
Yeah.
And obviously all these other teams are doing so well. The Flyers making the playoffs would be a huge benefit to them from a business standpoint too. And I know that's not the primary reason you make moves, but it's a secondary reason, and you can't forget that.
Yeah.
One other name that we talked about on this show, I put a report out last week. Elliot Friedman put a similar but not quite the same report out. Was Nick Seeler and the conversations potentially bringing him back. Yeah. They really like his character. They really think that there's a guy there that they could see being part, even though he's 31, being part of this team for another couple years, right? And being part of this growth. That said, they don't want to they don't want to close the door to teams being interested in that kind of defenseman, because you never know how desperate teams are going to get come March 8th, right?
Right.
So you look at it and say, that's probably a guy that a decision is made one way or the other on March 8th, if not right around that date and not right now.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I know they really like Nick Seeler. There's no question about it. And you just listen to Torch talk about the guy. He loves the fact that Nick Seeler never had anything promised to him in this league. He had to fight for every little inch he got, and now you look at him running around blocking shots. What was it, the game the other day? He had 8 blocked shots out of the 17 in the game, and a couple of them you noticed were painful.
Yeah.
And that rubs off on the young guys. What I know about Nick Seeler is there hasn't been any serious discussions about a contract extension. There haven't been any sort of numbers exchanged yet.
Right.
Again, they have time to figure this out. They don't have to do anything now. They can wait a couple more weeks and see what the market is. But you still need some toughness on that back end, right? And so he's a tough guy. We saw we all saw what happened in that game against Detroit right before the Christmas break, where he gets in the fight and they all storm back. I mean, there's merit to those guys wanting to fight for a guy when he's fighting for them like that. So I still think this could go either way, but they obviously like him and they'll let it play out.
And how much do you think? And this is what was most interesting about Torts' comments to Ashland Sullivan was, how much do you think Danny weighs what a guy brings to a locker room?
Yeah.
When making that decision on whether to sign him or to trade him at that deadline.
Yeah, and that's going to be part of the line he has to walk, is maybe making some of these moves without completely upending the culture that they've all been talking about. Now, again, it's easy to talk about a good culture when things are going well.
Yeah.
And frankly, these guys haven't really been tested yet. I mean, maybe it was a little bit of a test coming out of that Western Canadian road trip where they struggled a little bit, but they haven't really experienced a lengthy losing streak, or they haven't really experienced significant injuries, key guys coming out of the lineup for long stretches of time. So, that's, again, the culture is so important, and I think a lot of managers now are realizing how important that is. So that plays into it. If you're Nick Seeler, I think everyone knows at this point the guy's a really good teammate, and being a good teammate does drive your price up a little bit.
Good locker room guy. It's an intangible.
It's like Russ on this show.
That's exactly right. Good locker room guy.
Not particularly great at anything, but he's a good
locker room guy. Good glue guy. Glue guy is my middle name.
Great. Well, let's look at this game here today, Kev, a little bit. We talked about Colorado. You said at the end of the long trip, of course, but they did not play Colorado Avalanche hockey against Boston the other night. Boston handed it to them a little bit, right?
Yeah.
It was 5-2 as the final. And of course, the Flyers played arguably their best game of the season. And so, the instant reaction is going to be, well, great. The Flyers could just do that again against this team. But you're not as good a team as Colorado is, where you let games like the other night happen repeatedly, especially back-to-back. So that's why I look at this as a challenging game, especially knowing you have to play again tomorrow and stuff like that.
Hold on, pause, look at that. Boom, down on the board. Talking about
we're on the board. We're on
Snow The Goalie, Flyers podcast.
That's us on the board.
That's weird.
Yeah. But anyway, when you look at a game like that, and I'm not trying to knock him because he's been great all year, but Carter Hart maybe hasn't been as good as Sam Ersson in the last few starts. There have been some weak-year goals, I would say. When you look at that as a matchup, this does pose a little bit more of a problem, I think, than and even though everybody should be excited and you hope that they give them that effort, I think this game could pose a little bit more of a problem.
Yeah, it's another test, and obviously Colorado is going to remember losing 5-2 back in December. So I agree with you. This is a very tough game tonight, this afternoon, whatever the hell time it is.
Still just the East Coast time, Kev?
Listen, it's the evening where some of our listeners check in from Finland.
Yeah.
So
the thing that Colorado can do that the Flyers can't is they can, one player can win the game for them, right? Yeah. The Flyers don't really have that guy where one player can win the game for them. I mean, unless you consider what Owen Tippett did last game.
And it's not just one they have more than one guy who can be the one player.
Exactly, yeah. So that's obviously the wild card, and McKinnon's on a heater right now. 10-game point streak. However many, I think it's 17 points or something over that span. So he's my favorite player to watch in the league right now. I don't know about you.
I think he's the best player in hockey. I honestly do. And it just, I know McDavid's got more skill. I'm not going to try and deny that.
I'd rather have this guy.
I'd rather have. If I'm starting a team, I'm starting with Nathan McKinnon.
Me too.
1,000%. We got a super chat.
Super chat.
Why hasn't Mishkov been playing? Any updates? You got any thoughts?
I have no idea.
Got any thoughts on that?
Yeah.
I haven't. In all honesty, I haven't heard either. There's been some scuttlebutt, and again, it's on Twitter, and it's coming from Europe. So
you better be careful saying this.
You never know what to believe, but there's some scuttlebutt that Mishkov and SKA, even though he's not playing for them, aren't seeing eye to eye, I guess, on things right now. He's on loan to
Sochi.
But so there, who knows? I've only seen a little bit about it. I have not talked to anybody in the organization about it. So Matt, I thank you for the super chat. I wish we could give you more information. I just looked at Kevin because I thought, hey, here's another beat guy who's around the team.
Yeah,
even
I only
more
saw that
than
this
me.
morning.
Yeah. So we don't have anything yet. I would say just hang tight and stay tuned. I'm sure somebody will get something soon.
It's good. Okay.
Good, especially you, right? I mean, you'll be all over this now, right?
You
have
but
nothing else to worry about.
I did see that this morning, so I got nothing on that. Yeah, I do know, I'm under the impression that Danny is going to speak with the media next week at some point. I don't know what day that's going to be, so that would be something to add to that list.
For sure.
But don't get your hopes up that he's getting airlifted out of Sochi to the U.S. That ain't happening.
Yeah.
Would it be nice? Sure. Will it happen? No. Wouldn't it be nice if somebody had to clip that, like a week from now? Matvei Mishkov's playing in Wells Fargo Center, and we go, oh, good clippable moment. No. Kevin, since Jamie Drysdale's come to town, team has been on fire. He obviously missed some time, but he's back in the lineup a couple nights ago. Mm-hmm. What have you seen from him since he's arrived here, and what has he brought from your vantage point that this team didn't have before?
Yeah, you can certainly see the mobility back there, right? And we saw that in the first game, maybe not as evident the last game. It's really interesting to me that Torts keeps saying he wants him to really get up in the offense, right? And we've seen, we saw Sean Walker, not only had that goal the other night, but he also had that other chance where he's right in front of the net, right? So if you're Jamie Drysdale, you probably look at the way Walker's been playing a little bit this year, but he's got a little bit more of a skill set, a little bit bigger of a toolbox. So I do think it's inevitable at some point he's going to be running that first power play unit, right? And it won't be Igor Zamula, but I guess there's no real reason to rush him into that spot either because the power play has goals in 6 of the last 7 games, I think it is. So, what's more interesting to me is who he's going to end up playing with. Do you keep him with Travis Sanheim? Because Tortorella has said that he's liked Sanheim on that left side. So, we'll see how they shake out. He did, interestingly, push back when I suggested to him the other day, do you like having righties and lefties on all of your defense pairs, and does that help you play faster? And Tort said no, he shot that down. I don't know if I quite buy that because I think it does help you play faster.
Well, it certainly does. But the one thing I wanted to caution with the Sanheim thing, and I don't know where it goes. I mean, it may go in a different direction, but there's a thing with the way that the two of them play that's very similar. Right? I mean, and Torts has said that too, about how they can both be rovers.
Yeah.
Well, you can't both be rovers if you're on the ice together.
True.
Right? So I think ultimately it's probably better to have one with one guy and one with another guy.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see. And I think that's Tom Mullen is trying.
Tom Mullen is trying desperately to send a super chat. So, Tom, thank you for this.
Yes.
Asks star of the game. Who's it going to be tonight?
If you had to pick a star of the game tonight, Kev, who you got?
Nathan McKinnon. Sorry.
You know what? Get on. Just go.
That's fantastic.
I mean, he's been playing well. If we're looking for a flyer, I mean, I think Morgan Frost has been playing really well lately.
Yeah,
so,
he has been.
Well, hold on a second. Hey, can I borrow your glasses really quick? Just give me. Who did you just say? No. Who'd you say?
Morgan Frost.
Hey, Anthony, help me out over there. Who is that? Is that Bill Meltzer over there? Morgan Frost.
You needed my glasses for that. You couldn't have faked it.
It's a Chris Farley callback.
But you couldn't have faked it. You couldn't have faked it.
No, it's not the same, man. It just looks weird.
All right. So who do you got?
Well, I'm sorry. This is a silly podcast.
I mean, Owen Tippett. I mean, obviously, those are the obvious ones.
You know what? So the Tippett thing is actually something I wanted to ask you about.
Okay.
Because when that trade was executed, you weren't here.
Right.
There were certainly moments with Florida where that fan base as a whole had kind of worn thin. Like, I think that they had just kind of hit like a certain plateau where they thought, kind of, I guess to an extent, how some fans were with Morgan Frost earlier this year, where it's like, you know what, change of scenery candidate, see what we can get for him. I think that when the Flyers executed that trade, the first-round pick was viewed as the more valuable asset of what they got. What have you seen from Tippett that has allowed him to kind of unlock his game from the beginning of the season to now? Because he looks like a much more confident guy. That move that he had on arguably the goal of the season is something that a guy who's in his own head does not make.
And it's not just that he's shooting the puck more, which he is. I think it's 42 shots in the last 8 games, which is, like 6 shots per game, right? If you do the math, more than 6 shots per game. So he's getting a shot on net more, but he's also just creating more. He's not just a shooter anymore. He's a guy that can drive the puck. He can make plays. He can find space for himself, create space for himself. So I thought what was most interesting regarding Tortorella's evaluation of him was he kind of lumped him and Frost in the same boat, where he wants them to be offensive creators, right? He needs those guys to create offense because there just aren't enough of those high-end scorers on this team, as we all know. And sometimes that might mean making a mistake in the defensive end. So it's walking that line, right? You don't want to make some sort of egregious mistake in the defensive end that's going to get you benched for 2.5 periods. But you also want to be a guy that, at the end of the day, if you're not creating offense, you're kind of useless out there. So that's the message he's been trying to get across, I think, to both of them. And it seems that both of them, especially lately, have taken it to heart. And obviously the one thing with Tippett was get more shots on net. I think he's 4th in the league in missed shots. Yeah. He's not missing that many anymore.
Yeah, I'll give you a couple names that I'm going to be looking at today for the Flyers. One is Josh Farabee.
Josh Farabee. I'll tell you what, I'm going to be looking for Josh Farabee, too.
I don't know why that came out that way.
Is that his brother?
Joel Farabee.
When Joel Farabee grows just a mustache, he transforms into Josh Farabee.
That's his evil twin.
His alter ego.
Alter ego on the ice. Yes, Josh Farabee. Joel Farabee. I do think Joel Farabee is a guy, because I think that the way that the Flyers are going to try and match up lines, I think that there will be an advantage for that Morgan Frost line against Colorado today.
And they were the best line probably last game.
And I thought they were too. And so I think that that's going to be something that I think that they're going to try and exploit the matchups there. And so I like Farabee as a guy. But I want to say that I think that this is a game that Travis Sanheim has a big game.
Okay.
And I think it's, once again, and I think it's one of those situations where even though he and Drysdale are going to be out there against some top players in this game, the Flyers are really good at taking away time and space and being fast back in the other direction. So is Colorado too, right? But I think that the Flyers are a better take the space away team. Colorado's got the skill. Mm-hmm. The Flyers are going to take it away from that skill and go push it right back. And so in that regard, when you have your defenseman activating and getting up ice, I think Sanheim's a guy. I really liked the goal that Atkinson scored on the power play. More than the fact that Atkinson scored it, I really like the fact that Drysdale created space and got Sanheim into a shooting spot on that, down in the right circle there. Not from the point, he was in a prime scoring spot. That's not something you usually see a defenseman do on a power play. So I think that that's another thing to watch for today, is if they get power play opportunities, to see the two of them working together and see Sanheim in scoring position there. So those are the two guys on the Flyers that I look forward to have an interesting game today.
Vineet Singh brings up an interesting name as well, Cates. You want to see what he brings in another game back in, and this is a hell of an opponent for them to have to line up across from, and he's not a guy who's supposed to be the ultimate creator. He's supposed to be, to some extent, and not in the same breath, but like a Coots light, a 200-foot player. So we'll see. Like, it will be interesting to kind of have an eye on it, because Coots can't play every shift, right? So
Noah Cates had a bunch of shots. Was it the first game or the second, or the St. Louis game or the last game? He's had some chance. I really noticed him in that St. Louis game.
Yeah.
A lot of times these guys that have missed a lot of time, they come back and they're sort of just running on adrenaline, right? And then you hit the wall. Mm-hmm. So now that he's played a couple games, you'll see if he can keep it up, because this guy, he hasn't played a whole lot of hockey. But I thought his first 2 games were effective.
We're wrapping it up here with you here, Kev. I know know, because Russ has to do all his promotional stuff.
There's no promotional stuff to do. It's a great. Listen, what's there to promote? Go ahead, get him.
Got to get your pick for the game. It's 2 minutes to 1, right? It's 12:58. So game's going to start.
7 minutes on the board. You can see 6 minutes and 47 seconds until Laura Hart starts singing the national.
Yes.
I got to make a prediction.
Yeah. So just want to get your thought.
Yeah, I'm not like
you know what? Give an exact score.
I think they're due for a loss tonight. Frankly. Yeah. But again, they stay in every game, so I'll say 4-3 loss.
That's a very good pick.
Yeah.
So 4-3 Avs is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Interesting.
In regulation.
An important distinction.
That is
an important distinction.
I like it. Hey. Well, Kev, thanks as always for coming on.
Of course, guys. Yep, anytime.
Love having you on. Love having your analysis, and you're very lighthearted about everything too. Which is the most important thing.
Why do you have to? You don't have to take this job seriously. No, we're covering sports for
Exactly. That's why I like the fact that you dress more casually than most media over there.
Do I?
I didn't even notice the fact this man's not wearing a suit. He's not allowed in press row.
I do have
Revoke
pants
his
on, just for the record.
Well, thank God you have pants on. I mean, that's a whole other problem.
No, I get it, but I'm
done with the ties. Yeah, no more suits and ties.
No more suits and ties, right?
I had to do that for 6 years when I did TV.
Yeah,
no
done
more
with that
ties,
era, right? Good for you.
Atta guy.
Lights are out.
Atta
All
guy.
right. Thanks,
Stick
Kev.
taps
All
out
right, guys.
there.
Yeah,
Kevin Kerrs from The Athletic. Make sure you follow him and check him out. He's one of the best there is on this beat, so it's good stuff.
Anthony.
Yeah.
I think it is highly offensive, and I need to check you on something here because I do think that it's important that we hold ourselves accountable here on the Press Row Show.
Yep.
When something is said that is inaccurate and when it is something that could be damaging to someone's reputation. You said a little bit ago that I'm going to shamelessly plug things. And you're absolutely right, because, ladies and gentlemen, you go over to shop.snowthegoalie.com and you can find some of the greatest merch this side of the Mississippi. But no, it's not just the merch. Of course, we have That Silly podcast, and the I'm a Torts Girl, I'm a Torts Guy, the Quitter Gautier, orange and black, the Snow the Goalie logo on shirts, on hoodies. We've got the Coots sweatshirt and shirt as well. But the big thing that we are pushing this week, of course, is a live event that we have coming up on March 16th at La Sicilia down in Oxford, Pennsylvania, down there in Chester County.
Southern.
Barely, but it's still part of Chester County. Down in Oxford, we'll be at La Sicilia on the 16th. The Flyers are playing the Bruins that night, so we're going to do a press road show. Huge Italian buffet. We're talking pastas, pizzas, all other kinds of accoutrements, and also desserts. It's going to be a great night. There's going to be door prizes, all kinds of fun stuff. If you have Bundy's book, he'll sign your book happily. He'll have some copies of the book available as well. We might take a little bit of merch down there. We have a few things that I think we're going to give away.
We have some door prizes coming from the Flyers as well, so that'll be kind of cool as well. We'll get some stuff. Probably some autographed things, I would say. I think it's fair to say.
I think it's probably fair to say.
Yeah. So we'll have some door prizes as well. And then we'll do an hour pregame instead of a half hour.
Yes.
So we'll extend the pregame to an hour. And then we'll do the 2 intermissions and we'll do a postgame all live. And we'll watch the game with you there at La Sicilia. They got a beautiful back banquet room that can fit over 100 people. I think they're only selling 100 tickets, though, just for the purpose of everything fitting appropriately. So there's limited availability. I know we've already started selling them. Great. But so if you want to come hang out with us, please.
It's a great night.
Yeah,
it's legitimately going to be a great night to spend.
By the way,
to spend with the Snow the Goalie community.
Yeah, it's a BYOB. Greg Mack reminds us of that.
Good point, Greg.
Good point on that. It is a BYOB.
Go ahead.
One thing on that, but I wanted to point out, Greg Mack mentioned already, and intern Andrew already had his comment up. He's wearing his Quitter Gautier shirt today.
Who is?
Greg Mack.
I didn't see it.
He put it in the chat. I haven't seen it yet either. So, Greg, you got to come up.
Greg, find us. We need to see how it looks. I want to see how it looks.
We want to see how it looks. We want to tweet it out too.
Yeah,
we'll tweet 100%.
it out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So.
Oh, there's somebody. I can't pull it up because he cursed. Ted says nobody's buying that stuff. Ted, you're an idiot. You're also incorrect, which makes you both an idiot and incorrect. An incorrect idiot. Sorry about you.
We have a lot of those.
Incorrect idiots? No, I mean, not really. Ted, you're a wonderful human being unless you're not, and we appreciate you tuning in to the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi.
Hey, Hunter, that's a great point. If anybody comes, again, you have to bring your own, but a great choice to bring to the event would bring some Jonesy beer.
You should reach out to your pal Glenn Mack now and ask him to send some beer for the event.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Should that?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Greg's
Anyway.
coming up first intermission, so we'll get a photo
Greg's
then.
he's gonna rep that Quitter Gauthier shirt on the stream.
Yeah, I got a message actually. One of our fans, and I got to look on Twitter to see who it is exactly, and I'll tell you. But I got a DM. Eric Berkey is who it was. Eric is coming up. He's going to come visit us today. It's his birthday, I believe, and he's coming to the game. And so we said he's going to stop up and say hello. Yeah. So Eric, who's usually in the chat talking to everybody, he's actually going to be here. He messaged me he's going to be coming up. So that's a really cool thing as well. We love seeing you guys. I was chatting with a couple guys pregame. We love everybody stopping by. Thank you so very much for continuing to support Snow the Goalie.
I had somebody from the organization come up to me a little bit ago. It was this morning as we were walking our way to get some food in the building, and the person said, "It's amazing to see how at the beginning of the year there were like a couple of people who would show up at the press row show, and he's like, every time I walk up past the setup, you guys are just surrounded by people." I'm like,
yeah.
We are the only Flyers podcast, and we are the only number one rated pregame intermission.
We got to put our picks out.
What?
We got less than a minute.
I forgot what Bundy's was. Do you remember what it was?
What's yours?
Bundy said 5-3 Avs.
Yeah.
I said 4-2 Avs. You say.
What does intern Andrew have?
He says 5-3 Avs.
Well,
He's
him
just
and
like
Bundy with the same score.
He needs to start submitting his pick early too. He a lot of times is matching what you or Bundy do. Go ahead, continue.
Well, if you've been matching what I do, that doesn't necessarily bode well because I've not been great picking the Flyers this year. I'll be honest.
You gonna pick the Flyers?
I've had a hard time with this team this
¿Dónde
year.
están tus huevos, güey? Come on,
I've
man.
had a real hard time with
Pick
this
the
team.
Flyers.
Because every time I think I got them right,
Little chutzpah.
they go the other way. And it's like I think,
He's
they're gonna
stalling.
lose
There's
the game.
12 seconds
I'm
until
not
the national
stalling
anthem.
because I'm picking the Avalanche.
What's the score?
The final score of this game is 4-1 Colorado.
4-1. Wow, hurtful. Anthony SanFilippo. Spam him on Twitter at AntSanPhilly. I can't believe this man. So okay, it's across the board, which means the Flyers will probably win. I do want to say, you mentioned this post game the other night, which is available in the podcast feed. They had a great win the other night.
Yeah.
You cannot lose this game in an embarrassing fashion. You have to follow up on it with a strong performance. So we'll see how they do, and everybody, we will talk to you during the first intermission. Thanks for watching. the thing. Unmute. Oh, my God. We put it on his computer for the first time.
You increased you actually raised his responsibility level?
You know what?
Stop yelling at intern Andrew.
We love intern Andrew.
He's part of the family.
We put him, and families sometimes hold each other accountable for things. Welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, postgame show the side of the Mississippi. I'm Russ. That's Ant. That's Bundy. On the what's it? The nines, the board. What do they call it? On the nines, the sixes, and the 12s.
Are you trying to do like a traffic on the twos kind of thing?
No. There's another thing. It's like when you're on the board. There's like numbers. What's the numbers? The ones and twos. On the ones and twos. Number 2 in your heart. Number 1 in ours. Intern Andrew.
Oh, yes. Okay, I got you.
Okay.
Thank you, Russ. How's everything going today, Russ?
Hey, what a mess. What a mess.
You know, we're going to get into it during this intermission about Russ's adventures this morning, but we got to talk about the first period first there. It's weird because it was not, when you look at the score, 2-0 Colorado, I mean, that's not the outcome you want for after 20 minutes. And yet, I thought that the Flyers, for the most part, were the better team in the period. Overall.
Yeah.
Like, overall, I thought that they played better. I mean, they really limited Colorado early, especially in the first part of the period. I thought that they were dictating play. Colorado gets that one double-doink goal, and then, of course, you cannot put them on the power play. I know that last goal by Rantanen was not a power play goal, but it's just as the power play is kind of expiring. So you have the power play unit still on the ice, and McKinnon makes a hell of a pass. So that's just really where it kind of blows up on the Flyers there at that point, right, Bundy?
There's no doubt. And I think the other thing, too, is, that goal is kind of weird, right? That's like the goal we saw against Urson a few games back, right? Like a double doink. And I know people were saying, like, it went to a league review to see if it was a kicking motion. Again, that may not have been a goal at one point, depending on what the reviews look like in the past in this league, but that is a goal today because you can't turn your skate to redirect the puck. You cannot have the distinct kicking motion,
right?
And that was not it. Scott Hartnell used to do a good job of that, of redirecting pucks with his skate rather than kicking them. You know what, Russ? I always say, if a guy's skilled enough to put a goal in with his skate anyway, the goal should count anyway.
Right.
I'm saying that. Like, they want to increase goal scoring, do that.
I mean, in all honesty, and this is where I agree with you, Bundy, on that. Like, if the puck's flat on the ice and you kick it, that's different. That's soccer. Right? I mean, that's different.
Correct.
But if somebody's taking a slap shot and you're got your foot up in the air and you're
It wasn't in the air until the shot came in.
But the point is that the puck is bouncing and he has the agility to get his whether he intended to do it or not. It
came in on the deflection, yeah.
Right. I mean, that's still a pretty
It comes down.
physical. Look at this.
Come here.
Look at this.
Get over here. Get this beautiful guy over here.
Put him on intern Andrew.
Look at that right there.
Stand with intern Andrew. All right, we have to go to this really quickly because
this is important stuff.
It's really important stuff. Intern Andrew, turn on your. Where's your camera?
It's running through this. I can't put it on.
Oh, you're
bring
right.
him over here.
All right, come on over here. We have Greg from Vineland is in. Greg, come between me and him. So Greg is repping something that you can find over at shop.snowthegoalie.com. Greg, welcome to the show.
Good
Thank
stuff,
you very
my
much.
friend.
How long did it
Love
take
it,
you
pal.
to decide that was a good life choice to purchase that shirt?
I actually, it was funny. When this first happened, I said, I actually commented, hey, that's a great shirt idea, Quitter Gauthier. And before, literally like 5 seconds after I commented, you had mentioned that there was one online. So I said, shit. So I immediately went and purchased one.
Quitter Gauthier.
That
Awesome
would be.
stuff.
I think I don't want to say with 100% certainty, but I think that's a duck, right?
It is a duck.
What's that? It's a dog.
That is a duck. Are you trying to criticize the design?
No, the guy asked if it's a pigeon.
No, it's a duck.
So that's why
It's
I was
a duck.
saying that.
It's a
It
duck.
even has the color similar. Definitely not the same one. We would never infringe on anybody's intellectual property. But a very similar color to where he ended up. So anyway, Greg, thanks for
stuff,
supporting
Greg.
the show.
Well, thank you very much, guys.
We love you, buddy. We
pal.
love you,
We'll have
pal.
to see.
Thanks, buddy.
Hopefully we'll see Greg down there at La Sicilia for the live show. Thumbs up. He gets it. Shop.snowthegoalie.com.
Thanks, Greg.
I like this. Bodine saying silly little shirt.
Yep, silly little shirt.
Yep.
No, so back to what we were talking about there in the period. They had chances, too. Joel Farabee missed a wide-open net. He had a shot there. That was a real chance. I think TK had a chance to bury one and kind of was just a little bit late getting the shot off, allowed goalie to get over and make the save. It was a weird period, Bundy, because you come out of it down 2-0, and this is a tough team to come back on. But at the same time, you sit there and go, you know what? Structurally, they weren't bad.
They actually played a good game. A good first period. And, also was good, really great. Again, Morgan Frost, I thought he was excellent again that period.
Whole line.
He had a great setup in that period that Anthony noted Josh Farabee missed the net on.
That was right. It was his evil twin.
It was his evil twin who took the ice.
Josh Farabee.
Josh Farabee, yeah, as Anthony called him during pregame.
But, you look at where a guy like Frost is at right now, and, he's really, really come on and playing well. Again, I could beat a dead horse, but, he's really, really been a good player, and he clearly likes second half of the seasons as he did last year, too.
Yeah, for sure.
Can we talk about this really quick? And, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, conversation was being had about, hey, could some of the teams that might have been interested in Frost in the offseason kind of start kicking the tires again? He'd gotten scratched again. At this point, with the way he's playing, is this a situation where the team goes, you know what? Maybe the guy that we had hoped was in there is finally coming out. He had the meeting with Torts in Torts' office. He stood up for himself, advocated for himself. Is it that, or could the team say, all right, the stock is going to be about as high as it's going to be before Torts does what Torts does and sits him for 6 games?
I think it's a good question to ask, and I think it's one that the Flyers are probably asking themselves. I know that there have been teams asking about him. But I'm not sure that the Flyers have seen any kind of offer that they deem fair for a return for him. So I don't think that there's anything that's pressing on it. But I do think it's something that as March 8th approaches, and you sit there and think about it, you want to evaluate Morgan Frost. The way he's playing now is fantastic. If he could keep this up over the course of the next month, then no, you don't move him. Then you sit there and say, yeah, this is what the guy we thought would. Was there when we drafted him, and it just took a while for it to come out. So you hold on to the guy, but if he slinks back into doing things the way he was before, then you sit there and say maybe this isn't a guy for our future. But so I still think that there's some evaluation taking place with him. But to his credit, he's played his best hockey, and I think I can say this with certainty. Over the last 8 to 10 games, it's been the best hockey of his NHL career. Not just, you can sit there and say, he was the leading scorer on the team in the second half of the season last year. That's all well and good. Those games didn't matter worth a damn. Bundy, those games were pointless for the Flyers. They were just going through the motions. He's playing his best hockey in games that matter now.
Yeah, meaningful games.
And that's what's more important. It's one thing to go out there and put up points when you're last place team or next to last place team. It's another thing when you're in second place pushing for the top of the division. That's a big difference in how you're playing at times that matter. And so I think that's really what they're going to evaluate here over the course of the next month. But right now, Morgan Frost is doing a good job for himself.
He has played exceptionally well and really finding vision on that ice. I knew he'd had it, and I guess the coaches felt they needed to handle the situation as they did early in the year. But I think right now he has been he's been terrific, and he's really, really making a lot of things happen on the ice.
We all have the best listeners and viewers this side of the Mississippi and the other, and on this side of the Atlantic and the other. Brandon checks in and says, gotta say, Snow the Goalie has changed the way I watch home games for the better. It keeps my wife from getting tortured by my analysis between periods. I'm glad that we can help.
That's fantastic. That's so
we are saving marriages on both sides of the Mississippi.
Yes.
So, Cordell and Cordell might be able to represent you.
Yeah.
In case things go bad. But if they're starting to head bad and you don't want them to head bad, you come on over.
Hunter's asking a question, Russell.
What's that?
How was your morning?
My morning was something.
Am I missing something? Is it about him looking for that place we ate?
Listen,
there?
Yeah, that's Anthony's thing. I had a very good morning. I had an excellent morning. I got down here, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, ready, and then we were going to meet for breakfast. And then I hadn't heard from Bundy since yesterday, and I thought, all right, well, maybe I won't find Bundy today. And then Ant responds, doesn't. What's that? What is wrong with your computer today? Did you give a thumbs up?
No, I didn't do anything.
What was that? We put the show on intern Andrew's computer for the first time ever. We've had random balloons that have showed
came up earlier. We were celebrating.
We've had a random thumbs up bubble pop up.
Like it was almost like somebody said, "Congratulations!"
Hooray!
And these balloons.
Congratulations!
These balloons showed up.
You're
on the screen.
amazing. I'm just trying to see if we can trigger. Yay! No, okay. But anyway, we went for breakfast, and I couldn't find these guys. And then I went through the way that I thought you were supposed to get there, which is past all the locker rooms. I'm standing there for like 10 minutes, and then Anthony goes, "Where are you? We're eating." And then I learn as I get to the table that I legitimately walked the entirety of a level of the Wells Fargo Center instead of just going through a very simple hallway.
My favorite part about it, though, Russ, is that Bundy and I were looking for you for a good 10 minutes.
You could have just texted me.
We did. Ultimately, it's like, where the hell are you? Because we
Russ
were
is like, hey, I'm here.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
We were in
I
there.
was.
And we walked from one end of that Shift 4 club to the other, looking for you.
I was there the whole time, standing down there, twiddling my thumbs, checking the phone, waiting for my friends to shoot me a call.
Get a chance if
Do
you
you
have
see this? Do you see this?
Get the Shift 4 Club passes
Do you
if
see?
you can.
Do you see the sweatshirt and the jersey, the Hartford Whalers over here? I
Love
like
it.
this. I dig that.
Love it.
That's great.
Hartford
That's
Whalers
a
is
great.
one of my all-time favorite
I
jerseys.
love that logo.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I missed the whale.
Those old Western Hockey League teams, they had some great jerseys.
They did.
They did.
All right, let's try to get the show back on the rails for a second, or back on track. Okay. Bundy, how important are the first 5 minutes of this second period going to be for the Philadelphia
You know
Flyers?
what, Russ? Not as important as the 5 minutes going into the third last game.
Okay. So hear me out.
Someone said like watching this more than the TV. Of course you do. They can't do this on TV.
Well, we are
If you
we're a silly
laughed
little
on
show.
TV,
Yeah.
maybe you'd be like disciplined after. You're like, hey, you can't
Yeah,
do
you
that.
can't have
You
fun.
can't have fun here.
This is no fun. No fun on television.
Nobody laugh. Nobody laugh.
Everything's serious. We take everything serious.
We're buttoned and zipped up here on the press row show. All right.
We don't wear ties and suits.
You know what,
We
though?
are with the people.
I'm going to give kudos to Kevin Kurz, who was on here pregame. That
Yeah.
man's not wearing a suit. He's sticking it to the man. He earns the Ant and Russ Memorial Award in press row because we never wore suits over to press row. All these people, they wear the suits. And look, a lot of people, they look dapper. They look great. Very happy for them. Some people have suits that are like four sizes too big. But that's okay. It's neither here nor there. But, like, we didn't do the suits. We typically did the jeans. I do the slacks. And still does the jeans.
I love this guy. You paying attention to this? This is great.
Just mesmerized.
You were so into it, man. I was like, check this out. He's like so into watching the show.
He was like, why? He's like focused in on.
That's
Hey,
great. It's
hey.
good stuff. Good
The Press
stuff.
Row Show, the #1 rated pregame intermission and postgame show this side of the Mississippi.
Good stuff,
Yeah, he
brother.
knows.
Oh, that was fantastic.
That's like 3 games in a row now that somebody has been like legitimately, like uncomfortably over intern Andrew's shoulder. Like
we have to
like-
make
like
have
this.
we have to make it so that you can pop that screen on when people are standing behind you.
well, now that we have it running through his computer, he can't. We'll have to figure that out.
We'll have to figure
another
that
way.
out. We'll have to figure
but
that out.
it's legitimately hysterical. All right, let's get into what's about to happen. Second period, the Flyers obviously cannot allow the Avs to go back on the power play. We know how dangerous that power play is, and it will. What do you know offhand what the percentage is?
I'll
It's
get it.
good.
It's very high. I know it's
a lot.
I
is
know
what
it's
it
very
is.
good. Bundy, like, what is one thing that the Flyers can and should do in this second period to get themselves? Yeah, they played a strong first
We
period. but-
really have focused on a good first 5 minutes. Russ, the Flyers need to just keep playing, to be honest with you. I think we saw some of it on this thing here. Like, they didn't play bad, but you can't, like, one of them was a redirection, skate tip redirection. The other goal was wasn't a power play goal, but it was at the end of the power play, and I hated that goal.
Yeah.
I just hated it. But the Flyers right now, I mean, like Anthony said, they didn't have a bad period. They just are down 2-0. Is now 2-0 insurmountable? No, not the way the Flyers are playing. I would like to see a little bit more North hockey, though.
Yes.
I thought there was a little bit too many turnovers and cute plays.
Yep.
Cute will never beat a team like Colorado. Now, Colorado looks cute sometimes because they have high-end skill in the form of Makar and McKinnon, which the Flyers just don't have.
Right.
That's why they look like that. That's the way they play. the next goal in this game will be the most important goal in this game. That states the obvious. Flyers can get this to 2-1. They got themselves a heck of a chance, but they don't want to give Colorado a 3-0 lead with under 40 minutes to play before they head back to the Rocky Mountains. Flyers need to dig in early here in this period.
Yeah, let's just say answer your question, Russ. Their power play percentage is 21.4%, which I think is 8th in the league coming into today. And people say, well, that's not great. But keep in mind, let's just say that second goal was not a power play goal, but it really was.
It was, right.
Right? Yeah. No, so they're going to have goals like that as well. So yeah, I mean, the Flyers have done a nice job killing penalty. I mean, they're the #1 penalty kill team. I think they're still #1. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I was on the wrong one.
I was wondering why you were on net power play percentage.
I was on the wrong one.
Yeah, that's not right.
Yeah, the 24.9%.
Yeah.
They're still 8.
They're still very good.
Yeah.
Hey, really quick here. So, Hunter Mikos, that's great. Is
We
it
were
a silly
named
podcast because of
Dark Helmet named us Silly Podcast, so that's what we are.
Yeah.
That silly podcast.
that will forever be a drop on this show. Hunter, by the way, points out the Flyers are 5-0-0 since Drysdale joined the team. Not ready to accept a loss. In Flysdale, we trust.
It's better than the Russ stash.
Yeah.
That much is true.
Flysdale, I love that.
Flysdale. That might be a shirt coming soon to shop.snowthegoalie.com.
That reminds me. Remember? Do you remember? You might remember watching him play because it was before you were in the league. But do you remember Ron Flockhart?
Ronnie Flockhart?
Yeah.
Yeah. Flocky Hockey?
Flocky Hockey.
Yeah.
Flocky Hockey was a good one. Yeah, he played here in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very similar in that regard.
That's great.
Before we head out, Yari here, we talked about this early in the intermission about the first goal. And I totally hear what you guys are saying. And like looking back on it and looking at what his motion was, it looked like because the puck was coming in high, he was adjusting to get the stick to it for the redirection, which is why his foot came up. I'll just merely point out that, like, in the event that it hadn't been deflected and that's ultimately where the puck goes, I would just say, like, we've seen goals scored. Like, that in soccer would be a perfectly timed volley.
Yeah.
So, like, when we talk about, like, kicking motion versus not, I look at that and I say, if I'm watching that in soccer, I'm saying that's a perfectly timed volley. Your foot's in the right place. That's the kind of goal you see, like, a Cristiano Ronaldo score. That is precision. And to do it with a hockey puck, obviously far more difficult.
I'll be honest.
It's tricky.
I'm not sure Carter makes that save even if it's not kicked.
Right.
That's a bouncing puck.
Yeah.
It was already deflected, and then it bounces on the ice before it even hits the O'Connor's skate. Right. So I don't know. That's a tough save to begin with. So the first goal is the first goal. I don't think that's a big deal.
Bundy's out. He's trying to get that thumbs up bubble to come back. We'll be back second intermission and post game. Everybody, thank you for joining us. We'll see you during the second intermission here on the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show. We'll talk to you soon. Welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi. I asked Bundy, what's the most important thing in those first 5 minutes? And he said the first 5 minutes. And there were 2 goals scored in those first 5 minutes. There were multiple goals scored in that period. 5-2. I'm just going to say this really quick. I'm going to go out on a limb. I was talking to intern Andrew about it before we came on. That Nate McKinnon kid, he's got some real skill. And expectations are low in Colorado. If they could just have a little bit of patience and let him develop at his own pace, he could really blossom into a player.
I think you have to tell your Nate McKinnon story.
I think it's time.
So he's the best player in the game.
Yes.
True story. We were in Colorado, I want to say 2017. It was my birthday. It was December 14th. And we were covering the game for NBC Sports. And it was the year the World Cup had been played. And Nathan McKinnon had absolutely shredded teams in the World Cup on the youth team, the younger group. And he'd started the season. We played December 14th. So we're 2 months into the year, so figure they'd played, I don't know, maybe 25 games. And so we were picking the game up for NBC Sports that night, and we went into the Colorado locker room to get some nuggets off the Colorado players. And I went up to McKinnon and said, hey, I'm Chris Therien, a former Flyer player, and I'm covering the game tonight. I said, can you tell me how you shredded teams unbelievably in the World Cup, but you've had just kind of an okay start to the year in the NHL? And I said just like that. And he looked at me kind of jumping. He said, what do you mean? I'm on pace for 60 points. And I looked at him and I said, kid, if I had your skill, I'd be looking over 100 points every year without hesitation. And he looks at me and says, oh, man, thanks a lot for that. You know, he goes, we're in tough here. They didn't have a good team. They had a one-line team, couple of defensemen. And Jonesy and JJ heard me say it. And I don't know what it was. Nathan McKinnon's never been the same player since December 14th of 2017.
He's been the best player in the game since.
And we used to joke even on the broadcast. And Jonesy'd say, Bundy, tell us that story about Nathan McKinnon. He heard it.
Yeah.
And it was, and I couldn't believe a guy who had that much skill looked at me and said, I'm on pace for 60 points. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
And I just could not believe that was the answer. And I don't know if somebody just said, like, needs to say, dude, you're the man, and go get it. But, I mean, he's torching this Flyer team today, and that's why we got talking about it. Man, when he gets going, and this is why I was scared today.
Yeah.
Because the Avs got toasted in Boston the other night. That was a measuring stick game for them. They don't want to go. I've been in this situation where you've had a kind of a stinker the day before your last road trip game.
Yep.
It doesn't mean you're going to quit on the last road trip because you want to get home. You want to get the points.
Right.
And show that you had a stinker last game. And what a great time for them to pick it up against the Flyers, who have been amazing.
And the thing of it is that we talked about this pregame, Bundy, before you were here. But, you know, when you have a team like that comes off of a bad game like that, and you have the high-end talent that they have, and it's not just McKinnon. They got Rantanen and they got McCarr. I mean, they got guys all through that lineup who are legit offensive players. That it's easier to come back off of a bad game and say, all right, let's just go out there and just turn on the skill. When you're that good of a team, you don't usually get into long ruts. And so that was why it was important for the Flyers to try and jump out early on them. And it just never happened. They just didn't get that jump. And then, it's 3-0 before in a blink of an eye. And then, yes, Joel Farabee gets a goal. It kind of gets you back into it, right? And it was nice of him to do after his evil twin missed a wide-open net in the first period, Josh. Joel Farabee scores that goal. But then right away, it's like, here comes Colorado again. They are such good. They're so fast.
Yeah.
They are a fast hockey team.
Yeah, and the one thing they're doing tonight, too, guys, is they're playing with physicality with the puck. Like, the Flyers have outshot them, but Colorado, with the skill, has put the work in today.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why they hold a pretty commanding 5-2 lead heading into the third period. So, I remember, and I always say, like, picking games, I just go back into my own time playing and just kind of put myself in a seat. The other thing, too, is really good teams, and have been on some excellent Flyers teams in the past. And one of the old adages always was never 2 in a row. Good teams never lose 2 in a row. And that's what I'm figuring with this team kind of fresh off a Stanley Cup just, 19 months ago or so.
I'm about to fan the Flames. I know this is really shocking that I'd be controversial in any way, shape, or form.
I know exactly where you're going.
But
too.
if you're over on YouTube, I just put up a poll. and I want people to vote on this, and I also want you to hit the like button because it means something to us. But there is a growing discourse, and there has been all season. I don't think it's going to get to the level of like a bench Donovan McNabb for Jeff Garcia kind of thing. But there is a growing sentiment among a portion of the fan base that Sam Ersson gives this team the best chance to win in net. Now, we can obviously talk about these goals tonight, and I think for the most part, we'd say that 4 of them weren't on Hart. I do think that one of these goals was...
The last goal, he's got to make a save.
You can say that this is unfair, but I do think that in a lot of games, Carter Hart is good for one soft goal. And somebody asked about it, actually, at the end of the last intermission show. Like, when does it go in? The question that's in the YouTube comment section, the poll, who should be the number 1 goalie for this team, Carter Hart or Sam Ersson? And I want people to vote.
I'm with you, Ant.
It's too soon.
I totally agree.
I just want to know from the people because we're seeing
Okay,
it in the comments.
too.
A lot of people going back and forth. What?
We're people too, damn it. That's what Bundy said. We're people too. No, it's too soon. It really is. That said, I wouldn't be surprised if Ersson starts. We know he's going to start tomorrow against Ottawa. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a good game tomorrow if he starts Tuesday against Tampa. So I wouldn't be surprised if you got Ersson back-to-back. Okay. Right? Coming off of this weekend, okay? But I still think it's way too soon to say one is a number 1 and one is a number 2. You just can't get there yet.
No, I agree. But like we said last show, though, that time will come.
It will.
It's going to have to.
The rubber is going to hit the road at some point.
Yeah.
And
sometimes you got to let them decide it, right? You got to let the players decide who's the number 1 and who's the number 2. And just because Carter Hart had a bad game against the Colorado Avalanche, and I can't even say it's a bad game. It's one bad goal. You're not going to sit there and go, oh, well, that decides it.
Yeah.
Ersson's the guy. Yep. No, you're not going to do that. You got to let it play out over the course of the next month. I think really you're still looking at this as still kind of let the 2 play for another month, and we're not talking about it as a controversial thing.
Yeah, they are winning games,
yeah.
And that's a luxury to have. So, I mean, we'll see what happens in the third here, but,
yeah.
Again, you're going to lose games, and you can't put every one of them on the goalie. Now, has he been great in this game? No.
Yeah.
He hasn't been, but Ersson has been good.
Yeah.
Now, could Sam come in and have a bad night? He could.
Sure. He didn't have a spotless start to the season.
No, he did not.
And then
he
he got him,
if he could. Yeah,
yep.
So now he's kind of fallen into it. But, again, I look at it now, if you can get good, have the goalies playing well together, it's a luxury.
I will say there was a point in that period where I don't remember the exact time. Hart had a very nervy play handling the puck.
Well, he's never been good handling the puck.
Well, but
especially behind the net.
However, you bring that up, and there are people who try to rip and say that it's not a fair critique.
That's the weakest part of his game. In all honesty, that's the weakest part of Carter Hart's game.
And luckily for the Flyers, the Avs did not capitalize on it. But there was a moment there where he was away from the net that things got real helter-skelter fast, and it was on him, and he did kind of get them out of it. But it just one of those plays.
I just wanted to pull up this comment. Greg G says, "I sort of want Hart gone just because I'm high on Ersson." We're high up here in the balcony.
Is somebody smoking some fun stuff up here?
Last dance with Mary Jane.
I mean, this
Mary
wasn't
Jane is the guest on.
This wasn't like that stuff like that don't smell.
No, that was.
This is like a Bob Marley concert.
I mean, this was Colorado Avalanche after all, right?
This is like
it's in honor of the Avalanche.
It's legitimately like in college. I think it's fair now that I can say that I lived with a bunch of stoners in college, and yet. Because I was an education major, I never smoked weed. I was afraid.
Who did?
I was afraid of. I'm just saying, I was afraid of losing my chance to be a teacher.
Yeah.
But that definitely took me back to some of the smells that came out of our basement in college.
I can't believe Russ room with stoners in college.
There you go.
That's unbelievable.
Nice guy. I'm a nice guy. All right, let's go to the questions, comments, and concerns out there. And I also want to pull up the poll results. As it's going right now, guys, there are votes coming in. Sam Ersson right now leads 56%, but it's gaining votes as we go. 68 votes in, 56% Sam Ersson, 44% Carter Hart. We'll leave that going until the end of the period.
Well, it's not fair to do that now.
Why?
We're down 5-2. I mean, of course you're going to give him the low end of the stick.
All right, here, I'll end the poll just for you, Bundy. It ends at 50.
Let the poll
No,
go.
I ended it at 55-45. You know, just.
It's only 100 people.
Well, you know what? 100 people. 100 people. Anthony, it is an election year, and every vote counts. Every vote.
Should let it go. Because I think our fans are smart enough to make that a 50-50.
No, they're smart enough to make it a 90-10 because it's clear who the answer is. All right, let's keep going. You like that?
Yeah, that's good.
You weren't expecting that. Yeah. All right. In the third period, Bundy, we know that the first 5 minutes matter, but is this a situation, just given the way that this game has trended and given the fact that McKinnon has been every bit of what we know he can be, is it critical for the team, for the Flyers, to score in the first 8-9 minutes? Like, is it a situation where you fundamentally need that goal before the first half of the third period?
What you say is, guys, we're gonna hold the fort down, and we need to score 1 goal every 7 minutes.
Okay.
That's what you're trying to do. That's really, so if you're down, if you're down 4, it's 1 goal every 5 minutes, guys. We'll try to. That's the way you break it down. That's what they always say in the locker room. But, again, I think when you're down 3, it's more about hope and trying to, to spring something to get some luck on your side at this point too. Again, Colorado's been opportunistic. They've capitalized on a lot of their chances. The Flyers feel like they've been fighting the puck a little bit tonight, just in terms of getting real clean looks. I mean, I know they have the shot advantage, but I don't always look at it like that. It's a quality of chances, and Colorado's had that in this game.
I want to point this out really quick. Mike just dropped a comment here, said not our day so far, and Mike is standing right there.
I love it.
Mike is right there.
He's right there, standing right
there. Right there, taking in the press row show and still commenting in the comment section right across the way from us. We'll have to there. So,
look at that.
How about that?
That's great. That's great.
Anything else that you guys Ant, is there anything that stood out to you other than how good is McKinnon?
I would start my hockey team if there was a redraft of every active player in the NHL and I had the first overall pick.
Yes.
I would draft Nathan McKinnon first.
Bundy, you agree with that?
Ahead of
100%.
everybody else.
Yep.
Ahead of
McDavid.
Connor McDavid.
I would.
Ahead of Connor Bedard. Ahead of any other player.
Maybe
McKinnon
Bedard because of years. Like, if you had to pick today.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
But just because of the frame of time. But
I'm going to give you 5 names, and you have to tell me. Give me the power rankings. You ready?
Go ahead.
McDavid, McKinnon, Makar, Shesterkin, and no, I had another guy that was in my head. I only gave you 4.
Okay.
Go those 4. Bedard. Bedard was the last one. McKinnon.
Okay, so
Makar,
here's the question. I got the 5 names.
McDavid.
Here's
Bedard,
the question. Are you asking me
Shesterkin.
for right now, or are you asking me for I'm building for?
Give me
the
a 3
future?
for like a 3-year window.
Still go McKinnon 1.
McKinnon's 1. Okay.
Yes. And I would go Makar 2, Shesterkin 3, and then I would go McDavid and then Bedard. That would be my 5 in that order. That's the order I would put him in. Because McKinnon's the best overall player in my mind.
Okay.
You want a number 1 defenseman. That's the next most important position. You want a top-end goalie, although I probably wouldn't have put Shesterkin as the guy.
I'm putting McDavid ahead of Shesterkin. That's the only switch.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
So, because, again, you're asking me if I'm putting a
Which
team
goalie
together,
would you have
right?
gone with, Vasilevsky, or who would you have gone with?
Nah, Vasilevsky's kind of near the end. Probably Hellebuck this year. I mean, Winnipeg doesn't give up goals, and they play great defense, but Hellebuck's having an unbelievable
He's having
year.
a hell of a year.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
That's probably the guy I would put if I was putting a goalie. But yeah, no, then McDavid. I mean, McDavid's right there. Look, I got grief a few years ago when I didn't vote for Connor McDavid in my top 5 for the Hart Trophy.
Yeah.
Now he didn't win it that year, but people came after me, and it was like, okay, the most valuable player to their team. The Edmonton Oilers had the same record. Actually, they were a little bit worse than they were the previous season, and McDavid had more points. So it's like, okay, so is he that valuable to his team that, as great as he is, that the team got worse the following season? So that was why I did not vote for him.
Yeah.
Not because he's not a great player. He's absolutely a great player.
Sure.
Right? So and so people probably said it to me, well, that's what you're doing it again. You just don't like Connor McDavid. It's not that I don't like Connor McDavid. I look at it and say, if I'm building a team,
What are you doing for your team?
what is most valuable to me to build a team? And he's as great as he is, not the most valuable player to building a team in my mind.
So to recap, you guys go McKinnon, Makar, and then your difference is Shesterkin versus McDavid.
No, the other way around.
Just flip them around. I have
Shesterkin,
McDavid 3.
McDavid.
He's got Shesterkin
And then
4.
Bedard at a pretty distant fifth.
Well,
I
because
guess.
you're only saying third. It's the next 3
3
years. I mean, if you're saying the next decade, then
Well, sure, then-
Bedard goes
then
up,
it changes,
goes
yeah.
up. Yeah, but yeah, for sure. No, and if it's next 3 years, that's the order that I go in.
Okay. Interesting thought experiment. I would love to know from the people out there. I do see K-Dub said Makar is definitely number 1. Greg G asks, what about Quinn Hughes?
Quinn Hughes is awesome.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's not Makar, though.
He's not Makar, but he's awesome. Yeah, he's going to be a top guy. He's going to be one of the top 5 defensemen in the game in my mind, but he's not Makar.
Hey, one other thing here. We talked about trades pregame. I'm sure we'll talk about this postgame, and we'll be talking about it on the regular show later. The upcoming week. If this team does go into sell mode, it won't be like this week, but as the deadline approaches, if they were to find 2 good deals to move 2 vets, what?
Nobody loves talking trade more than you.
Just follow me.
You talk trade in July.
'Cause it matters.
You talk trade in October.
Because they're important.
You talk trade in January.
'Cause they happen.
You talk trade in April after the trade deadline.
Breer said they're open for business.
You're unbelievable.
No, I want to throw this because it actually matters because Bundy would know something about this. If they have 2 good deals on the table for veteran
I wish you were on the
defensemen,
regular show right now.
for veteran defensemen, and you make that move and you end up making it towards the playoffs, but then there are injuries, and now all of a sudden you're shallow in that position. Does it ultimately end up being a mistake? Thought experiment. Has that ever happened on this team before, where the Flyers have?
2004?
I know. That's why I said. Bunny would know. Well, I'm
Like
just
someone asked me if my aunt has balls, does it make her my uncle?
And on that bombshell. Are they
such a-
basketballs? Are they
Well,
hockey?
yeah, basketballs, whatever you want.
Well, in
right?
fairness, Torts did say this team has balls, so
That's true.
yeah.
You missed the boat on that shirt.
We could still make that shirt. I don't know.
Missed the boat on that one.
Yeah, well, listen, it's a silly podcast after all.
you know, Russ, I love trades and speculate.
Looks like they pulled Carter.
Did
they?
Yeah. Greg's chiming in. It says Urson.
Sam Urson is in net.
in.
I will say right now, if this team comes back and wins this game 6-5,
Here we go.
the discourse is gonna get hella
The
loud.
Chihuahua is coming out. Here we go.
All right,
All right.
time for us
we
to
got
go.
40 seconds, Russ.
We'll
Anything
be
else?
back. Yeah, shop.snowthegoalie.com. Go get your tickets for the live show at La Sicilia, March 16th.
That'd be great.
Everybody have a great third period. We'll be back post game. Stay out of trouble. Talk to you soon. Welcome into the Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, and postgame show this side of the Mississippi. And, well, you know, bunch of guys want to get a picture with Bundy. And here we are, post-game. Nothing quite like getting a picture as the post-game show is going on. But we are here. The Flyers, it was a very interesting game, Bundy, that we're going to break down here with the people. John Tortorella is going to be meeting with the media first. So we'll get the Torts thing, the Torts presser. We'll see. I think it's the first time Anthony's been down there since getting flamed. We'll see.
Could get Dark Helmet again tonight.
We could ask. What are the odds that Torts looks at intern Andrew and says, "Is that you dressed as an elf? Are you the elf boy?"
That's a good first.
Wouldn't that be good?
That silly podcast.
That's silly. That's silly.
That silly podcast.
Anyway, welcome in. It's post game. We're having a little bit of fun.
Yeah, someone's having fun.
A very up and down game.
Yeah.
Colorado goes up 2-0. Second period's a little bit wonky. Both teams get on the board. Third period, Flyers pull to within one after they pull Carter Hart in between the second and third period. Sam Ersson comes in. Team seems to kind of rally. They get that typical, pull the goalie bump. And, they get it to within one. Then Ersson gives up the one, goes through the wickets. Colorado pounces on it, and then eventually an empty netter. So you lose 7-4, but really it's not a 7-4 game. I'd say it's a 6-4 game, all things considered. Like the empty netter, like you look at it, if you're looking at the score, it wasn't a 3-goal disparity in terms of ability and all that.
So a lot went into this game today, and there's a lot of nuances that I found interesting in the course of this game. First off, Owen Tippett got hurt in the third. He did not return per Danny Briere. He will be evaluated, and they'll get us an update on that probably by tomorrow.
Okay.
The other thing, Carter Hart gets pulled after the second period, and the Flyers found some life out of that, which is the intended result. The coaches make a goalie pull. It's not really telling the goalie you stink, even though it was maybe a goal they didn't like. It's to try to wake the team up, and that's why he made the switch. But it was interesting because the Flyers are playing another game tomorrow.
Yeah.
And they are now going to rely most likely on Ersson to play 4 periods of the 6 in the back-to-back. So that's interesting because usually if you're saying to yourself you want to get the other goalie ready for the next day, we'll pick up the win. But I do like the fact that Torts stayed with it, and he did make the change. It's easy to say I'm just going to leave him in and, maybe he gets better. But, no, he actually made the change to try to get the team to pick up, and they did. Yeah. They responded accordingly. That's what you want. They just got outskilled today. I mean, McKinnon was on another level here today. And, again, that's the kind of game you got to eliminate. You don't want him at his best.
Yep.
And he got at his best. And I think a lot of it was because of Colorado. Colorado's an excellent hockey team. And losing the other night at Boston gave them a wake-up call before their flight back to Denver here tonight.
100%. Let's see. P. Rendy checks in and says, Flyers would have tied this game if not for the BS penalty call on Lawton.
I'm not doing penalties. Like, whatever. The Flyers had more power plays than Colorado did today. So,
yeah.
I'm not going there.
Yerk 12 thinks that Ersson should have had the 6th goal. I think there was a case to be made that the 5th goal that Hart allowed probably should have been made. That should have been stopped.
I guess
it happens.
I mean, it does happen, But Sam wasn't ready to play today. I mean, he wasn't expecting he was going to come in and play. He's going to get ready for tomorrow. But there's a lot. This just wasn't a great night. I mean, and it happens. I mean, the Flyers did provide some offense. Again, they didn't quit. They didn't give up at all, which we've seen that all year. But it was not. It just wasn't to be today.
Yeah, I mean. So Yari here says disappointed about the result, but like the mini comeback. That's one thing. What do we say about this team? They don't give up. They don't quit.
They got balls, right? As Tort says, they got
that's
balls.
Right.
They play hard, and they do. They do play hard, and they don't quit. Mm-hmm. And that's what we want to see in our team. And it was, it wasn't an awful game. It was just a little sloppy at times. There was a lot of puck luck, and there wasn't a lot of crisp tape-to-tape passes. I thought in a row or over a course of time, and that happens with afternoon games sometimes. You don't know what you're going to get necessarily when that puck drops at 1 o'clock. And Colorado certainly with the 3-0 lead in this one had I want to say sealed the Flyers' fate, but it certainly put them in a very difficult hole.
Yeah. Timo asks this: bets on the Torts reaction on goalie. Question about them pulling the goalie. What do you think he'll end up saying? Is he going to say?
No, he'll dodge it.
Well, I know he will, but like, which way is he going to dodge it? Is it going to be that he?
Oh no, we had him coming in here today, and we just wanted to play good. No, we thought Sam would give us a better chance in the third. That's it. It was pretty good, right?
That was very, yeah, I like that.
Yeah, that's good.
That was good. Wow.
I used to do the impersonations in the locker room.
That was very good.
Nobody would know that because Twitter didn't exist.
A little bit taken back here. I didn't expect that. First time you cracked that one out.
I got a whole bunch of them.
All right, well, good. So I think that the big story here, obviously because they're coming back tomorrow to take on Ottawa, is the status of Owen Tippett.
Yeah.
And how serious or not that injury is. It looked like he took it off the foot, ankle area. He comes off the ice, doesn't return, and as you mentioned, Briere said he's going to be evaluated. You assume an X-ray there. Probably, if it hasn't happened yet, it will happen by tonight.
He will, yeah, and it's never good when a guy has to miss the rest of the period. He went up the tunnel. It looked like he was in pain on the bench, and then shortly thereafter, he went up into the back to the locker room to get checked. But yeah, I mean that's the guy that's been playing so great, and obviously the chemistry and the flow of this team has been like in unison every single night. So you don't want to take anyone out, especially a guy who's been contributing like that. But that is the way it's gone. And to be honest with you, this has been a pretty healthy Flyers team this year. They really have.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of teams get bit by the injury bug, and this has been so far a very good spot for the Flyers.
It's actually kind of crazy. Wasn't it last game? Wasn't it 2 nights ago that we talked about getting hit in the foot?
Yeah, my
right?
toe blew off.
And about how you don't want to take your skate off because
Yeah.
it's immediately going to blow up.
Yeah.
All right. Torts is at the stage.
So many good shots on goal, but not be able to finish so many of them.
Part of the game. Goalie played well.
When you make the comeback, not once but twice, and get it to within one goal, did it kind of that penalty there in the third just really just let the
That's what you want to call that. Yeah, that hurt. I'm not so sure it's a penalty.
When you make the goalie change, do you feel you're still in the game at that point?
Yes.
Or was it? Could Carter have made a couple saves earlier? Is that part of the decision?
I felt we were in the game, so I switched the goalie.
Did you hesitate at all with that, just given you guys play tomorrow, or
No.
In terms of, I guess, your overall evaluation of the game, you guys control long stretches. Is your takeaway just that a team like that, if you make mistakes, they're going to punish you for them, though?
I think in the second period, we had a few turnovers that cost us. The one where McKinnon comes off the bench, I don't think Jamie even sees him on the turnover there. First period, they have 3 chances, they have 2 goals. I mean, pucks were going in for them, and they're good. They're a good team, scoring goals, one of the top goal-scoring teams in the league.
did you guys want to kind of send a message with essentially playing tomorrow that third period was something you guys can build off of going into a
No, we're
game?
still trying to win the game. It's no message, we're trying to win the game. No idea, haven't even talked to the trainers.
Okay, thanks everyone.
Thanks, John.
Well, I mean, it's right. I mean,
A feisty response.
He was right though. I mean, they're still trying to win the game. I get that, but and they like listen. They got the game within 1 goal.
Yeah,
they did, and then they took the power play, the penalty kill opportunity, and it didn't work. And then the empty netter was scored. But I guess he knows like that this was a game that would have been an unbelievable follow up to Dallas.
Yeah.
Heading into a game tomorrow that you probably feel you're the team that should win that game.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you got another difficult one coming in with a Tampa team that I think they were winning earlier today. I don't know what their schedule is, but they'll come in here Tuesday. Yeah, this would have been just a really good win. I mean, it didn't happen. But again, there's 2 teams on the ice, and the other one's really good too. But, I mean, the way the Flyers maneuvered through Dallas the other night was unbelievable. Dallas didn't, I don't know if they were ready to play or if the Flyers just made them look like that. But today was a different story. I thought they didn't have a lot of puck luck. I don't think they had a lot of unbelievable chances. I thought it was sloppy pass day kind of today. And I did think that Colorado did a lot more in terms of getting traffic in and around the net, pucks, not giving up on the play. And certainly their power play, even though it'll only show 1 power play goal, there was really 2. The end of the play where McKinnon threw it out to Rantanen on that one-time shot that made it, I believe, 2-0 at the time. So that's the difference in the game, and it wasn't awful. It just it was not the desired result.
Let's turn the page.
Let's turn the page to tomorrow.
They're going to be facing a team that also, at some point in the last few days, played Colorado and also lost 7-4 at home. The Ottawa Senators. You happen to know something about Ottawa?
Well, it's my hometown, yeah, and they are a team that they were on the rise. They are not. They are on the decline again, and they'll be picking probably in the top 3 or 4 in the draft.
3-7-0 in their last 10 games.
Yeah,
they're currently tied with Winnipeg. So both teams it will be the second half of a back-to-back. The difference, obviously, is that Ottawa's going to have to travel here.
Where's Ottawa today?
They're playing against Winnipeg,
Oh.
if I saw that correctly.
It's got to be in Ottawa then, yeah. That would be an awfully long back-to-back.
Yeah. Let's see.
That would be
that would be insane to go. Yeah, they're at home.
Yeah.
So 3-7-0 over their last 10. Obviously, that means that tomorrow the Flyers will be welcoming back former captain Claude Giroux, who chose to go back to his hometown team this offseason. It has not gone according to plan. And as you mentioned, not only is Ottawa bad, they are very bad.
Yeah, they're really
16-24-0 on the season. A -12 goal differential on the season. 32 points. Has them in dead last, behind even the woeful Columbus Blue Jackets. Now, in fairness,
Yeah, I mean,
Columbus has played 5 more games.
I think Ottawa thought they were a team that had this great youth, and Brady Tkachuk's a heck of a hockey player.
Mm-hmm.
They have a couple other pieces of youth, but I think they thought it was just a matter of plugging Giroux in there and everything was going to come together, and that's just not how it goes. Other guys need to step ahead of him, and it hasn't happened. Like, he still absorbs all the oxygen in the room, and to be honest with you, if you're Ottawa, you're never going to get any better until that is removed. You have to let guys develop. You can't keep hanging on to an aging guy that gets you a point in the power play every game. That's not winning ways. It's true.
Yeah, it's fair. So that means tomorrow we are back at it. Press Row Show, the #1 rated pregame, intermission, postgame show. We had a lot of people up here today taking pictures. You saw it. Hell, when we started pregame or postgame tonight.
Yeah,
Bundy taking pictures.
It is the best up here. Like, honestly, God, we love the balcony because if people do come and talk to us, we interact with people. A lot of our fans, a lot of you people that come to the games, come up and say hi. And as you can see, we've had people jump behind, take pictures with us here. We love it. We love interacting with the fans. You guys are the best, and we appreciate everything that you do tuning into us every game.
So a big thank you to everybody who tuned in. We'll be back, like Bundy said, tomorrow. It's a 1 o'clock game again.
Same thing,
12,
same day.
12:30. We go live with pregame. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of fun up here tomorrow. And don't forget, if you go over to shop.snowthegoalie.com, not only can you find merch, but you can get tickets to the live show March 16th at La Sicilia in Oxford, Pennsylvania. Big Italian buffet. It's all included,
that's
Bundy.
Be good. Definitely come to that. It's $62.50, but you're going to get a night with us. You get to hang out, watch the game, eat unbelievable food, appetizers, hors d'oeuvres, dessert.
Pasta, you got some pizza. Let me ask you a question.
You got the meatballs.
Let me ask you a question real quick. It's an Italian. As an Italian American, let me ask you a question. What are your top 2? You go to a pizza joint. What are your top 2? You can go top 3 if you want.
I was about to turn into Joe Pesci.
He's gonna go. I like pepperoni, green pepper, and mushrooms. See you, Timmy.
Pepperoni, green pepper, and mushroom.
Yeah, I do. That's my favorite. That's called the Canadian combo.
Is that real?
Everybody up there. Oh yeah, that's
really?
real.
The Canadian combo.
Canadian combo.
All right, give me the second kind.
Pepperoni.
Just plain pepperoni.
I like sausage too a little bit, but. Yeah.
I bet you do. All right, it's time for us to head out. Everybody have a great rest of your day. And sausage is great. And everybody have a fantastic day. We will talk to you all tomorrow for the Press Row Show, pregame, 12:30, Flyers, Senators. Bye, everybody.